Hello everyone, my name is Ryan and welcome back to our mistake series. In this video we will change it up a little bit, and instead of showing you 5 mistakes for each level, we will actually only focus on professional harsh mistakes. So you will be the ones to critique our very top professional Go players. In the first mistake, you will see a very harsh fight that gets unfolded in one move by, of course, a bad one. So here we have Minjun playing black versus Zihao white. Both of these are 9-dan professionals and are also very young. So right now we have this complicated fight. Black settled this group and also cut off white's 2 groups on the side. So now we have many groups that are all kind of fighting with each other, and it's getting very, very complicated as we speak. But now white played this very fancy net move. This is a very good move that really gets at black's shape. So in the game, black haned. And then white probably looked at his opponent for a moment and then simply made the cut. So as we all know, when you lose vital stones in a fight, it's not going to be good for you, because when your opponent connects their stones, they're going to be all strong, leaving you only the weak groups. And in this case, not only black lost vital stones, it's also a lot of points as well in the center. So after this exchange, the game quickly ended up in white's very clear advantage. So why is black dead in the middle? Well, if black Atari is here, white connects, and there's no way to run in the middle here. If black extends out, then white could still block. And because of this Atari being a direct sente, black cannot do anything to white's outside. For example, if black Ataris, white will connect. And that's a forcing move on the 4 stones, so black cannot connect out. And if black cuts, then white can Atari from behind. Again, it's a forcing move. It forces black to capture. And then white can simply escape the 2 stones here, and black is still dead in the middle. So we should always be careful not to lose our vital stones in a fight. So now let's look at the second mistake. I think we've all been in the situation where we were leading so much and we're kind of just almost sitting there waiting for our opponents to resign. And, it's of course you're leading by a lot by then, but you really always should be careful, because when you're not noticing, something could come up. So in this second mistake, we can see how no matter how much you're leading and no matter how strong your group seem to be, there could be something your opponent could be getting at. So in this game, Park Junghwan is playing black, Rong playing white. And the game is almost over. Although we have this ko, all white needs to do is give this ko up, get 2 big endgames, and white would win the game. White has very solid territories, and there's not really much more to fight for. So while black is finding the ko threat, Park Junghwan made a very tricky move. He played this move. So this move actually doesn't work. But it lured his opponent to his trap. So because it doesn't work, white Atari, and normally black would be able to push, so this move, if everything inside dies, would lose quite a lot of points. So then black cuts and Atari. And now it's kind of getting a little more complicated, right? Although it should be handled properly by white. So actually, white should make this attachment. But in the game, white made another mistake by making this hane. So after black turns, white can double hane and take away the eye. However, after doing so, white connects and black captures. And white cannot cleanly kill this group anymore, actually. No matter where white plays, it's going to end up in a ko. For example, if white connects, black can Atari and make the eye here. So white can Atari in sente, but white cannot cleanly capture the group. But this is actually a good ko, because this is a free ko for white. White can give up the ko at any time, and it will still only be a seki. So perhaps white should also choose this variation instead. However, something more goes wrong for white. So at this time, okay, so first white captures. That's no problem, right? If there's a ko, we should always take it. Waste black's ko threat. So black goes in, finds a ko threat, and captures this back. And now, all white needs to do is connect, and then take the ko again. And at black still needs to fight this ko. Even though there's something in the territory, white is still leading on the board. White should still connect and start the ko this way. In this way, it's a free ko for white, because when black wins, white doesn't risk this group at all. However, now white makes a detrimental mistake, and it's finding this ko threat. So this ko threat is big enough, and black seizes the opportunity to start the ko. So white has to take, because if white connects, then it's going to be direct ko. So white takes. So actually, black doesn't really, black might be surprised also, given the sudden chance now at this game that he's long lost, probably. So he makes time move, gets some more time in the byoyomi, and then captures here. And then after white captures, black finds another ko threat. White answers, and then black captures this back. And now if white captures this, then black will capture this again. So now for this ko, if white then tanukis again, black can connect on this side. And then we'll fight this ko. But keep in mind that this was originally all white's territory. So white wouldn't be able to trade anything here for just a corner like that. So here white plays a move. Instead of connect, white, so it was like this. Instead of connect, white captured here. So to make black's liberty even shorter. So if black captures now, white would capture this. So white captures here. Sorry, black captures here, white captures, and black connects. So now we can see this final result. What happened? Black in Sente made this group alive in white's territory. And then after connecting here, black only won by a few points. So now we can kind of see how big white's lead was in the beginning, because trading all this inside for just these points here. So whenever you're leading, don't be careless and make sure you keep your senses up. So now let's look at the third mistake. So you're already behind on a board with a very, very strong opponent. What can you do? Well, you can make ways, or more ways for them to make more mistakes. So in the third mistake, we will see how you can make mistakes by probing your opponent and make them retreat. The more they retreat, the more they'll feel unsafe, and then when they fight back is when you might have the chance. So in this game, we have Cho U versus Shibano Toramaru. So this is the Meijin fight-off in the first game out of 7. So Cho U is black, and we can see white has a huge moyo over here. Black has some solid territory, but it's not nearly going to be enough if white is able to make all of this into territory. After black peeped in here, this stone is actually being cut off. There's actually no way to connect this back. So what can black do to make more chances for white to make a mistake? Black can clamp here. So usually we don't want our opponent to connect back on the second or first line because, well, you lose so much side territory. So if white retreats, black can keep extending, and white pretty much loses all the side territory here. However, because white needs to keep the center strong, this is really the only move. And after making some judgment calls, we can say for sure that white would still win by a huge amount if white shows this variation. However, white didn't want to retreat, and this gave black a big chance to come back. So black cuts and extends. So white can't ladder these two stones because both of these are Atari moves for black. So white has to Atari this, but then black gets another Atari. And although black can't capture white immediately, there's so much variations. All these Ataris, Kosumis are all Sente moves. So after that, all that preparation, black can now push through here. After the push and cut, white has to connect back on this side because, or respond on this side, because if white responds on the other side, black can push through and capture this stone as well. So no matter what, black will be able to push in. So in the game, white connects here, but then after this Atari, white is in huge trouble because we notice that white can't escape this stone anymore. The ladder doesn't work directly. However, after the Atari, so the black actually Atari first and then laddered. So if white tries to escape, we can see that all these moves are going to be Sente because it's going to force white to save the 4 stones, and then black can just ladder the 2 stones. So white can't even escape this, and letting black getting a Panuki inside a huge influence is not good. And later, black was able to live this group and make a very significant comeback. So when you can retreat, especially when inside your territory there's a lot of aji, you should always consider that. And make sure you read all the harder variations before you commit to something, because when it falls apart, you will almost for sure lose the game. So now let's look at the 4th mistake. I really love it when I play a very, very nice Tsuji that just kills my opponent's vital stones. But that doesn't happen all the time. And when you make a bold move like that, sometimes it doesn't always work. And when it doesn't, you might be in trouble. So in the 4th mistake, we will see in this game between Jinseo and Chen Yaoye, how one player makes a Tsuji that seeks to kill another, however, they failed. And the consequences were very severe. So right now, we have, still more or less in the mid-game, black has this group in the middle that's pretty important because it's connecting this group and this group that black probably won't easily let white capture. So in the game, white attached. So this is a very common Tsuji for 1, 2, 3, this shape. And however, in this case, this is the mistake because after black connects, there is no way for white to capture it. So black keeps going, white turns, and black turns. So now there's no way to capture, but white can't just simply go back. So white keeps going, and even though this looks like black's heading down a narrow road, black has this stone. So after connecting, white blocks and black extends. And now we're connected here, and when white extends, black can actually play here in Sente. So this threatens to cut here. So after white protects, black keeps going out. So you might be wondering, this doesn't look too bad, right? Because although white didn't capture anything, white seems to get some of the outside and also the inside, right? The big problem with this is that white has too many weaknesses on the outside. So before black made this Kosumi, black actually haned first to make white's shape even weaker and then escaped over here. So in the game, white had to come back to protect. When black extended, white had to come back here to protect, and then black simply jumps out. And after this exchange, not only black just went through all of white's moyo, white still has one more weakness that white needs to protect. So after all these exchanges, white didn't really gain much while black destroyed all of white's potential in the center. So when you play a Tsuji, make sure it's actually a Tsuji. Because if you're like me and you play fake Tsujis, you might just lose the game because of it. So now let's look at the fifth example. New moves are not always to find, but when you do find them, they can be very good. However, I do admire the courage for players that go on this search, because oftentimes when you play a new moves, it can end up very badly. So in this game, our fifth mistake is a game between Cho Sonjin and Tao Xinran in the recent Samsung Cup round of 32. So we still have, we're still at the very, very early opening. So after the approach, white attached. So Cho Sonjin is playing black. He played the Hane. So we're going to play out this almost Joseki now for the large knight's enclosure. So after Atari, black descends. This is all very normal moves. Then white pushes and Hanes. So this is more the newer kind of AI-approved variation. So black extends and white extends. And then black extends, white pushes one more time. And then cuts. And jumps, and then black Atari's back. So this is pretty much a Joseki now, considered almost. White takes Sente and reduces black's potential on this side. Although white gives blacks this big territory, white can have some influence on this side in Sente. However, in this game, Cho Sonjin decided not to follow the classic move, but instead, black made this turn instead. However, this is very bad shape, because when white Hanes here, it's the Hane at the head of two stones. And the more importantly, the next move is an attachment. And this attachment just completely destroys the shape. However, black has no choice but to keep going, so black has to cut. And then white attaches. So this is a very important Tsuji to make black a bad shape. And then black cuts here. So having this turn, the good thing about this is that it enables this cut, because now white cannot ladder this stone. However, white can just simply Atari once, Atari twice, and black has a very bad shape. And now, after extending, white gains a potential on the upper side. And now, it's hard for black to follow up here, because if black just captures this is way too small, because white gains way too much on this side, while black only captured some stones after losing all this shape and all the potential on that side. So black chose to fight, but white can simply Atari. And in the game, black extends, and then white just jumps. So in the end, black only captured this, while lost a huge potential on the top. So you might be wondering, why doesn't black Atari here? Well, if white captures, then white doesn't have to connect these two stones. White can actually just jump out. So, black would even lose more, because white would kind of get both sides. So, black's played a new move in this case, but it didn't really work out. So sometimes we should just stick to our classic Josekis, because we know them, we play them, and that's why we are taught these Josekis. So these are the top 5 mistakes in August. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give us a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to follow our channel and subscribe. As always, thanks for watching.